Department of Zoology in collaboration with IQAC of Dr. Kanailal Bhattacharya College, Howrah. At first, I would like to welcome our speaker, as our chief guest is not here yet. He will come soon. So I would like to welcome our speaker, Dr. Mohammad Asad, who is our speaker today, and will deliver a lecture on immunology, especially on allergy, asthma, and associated diseases. So, should I continue to the speech, Vidushi?
Yes, please.
So first, I would like to introduce Dr. Mohammad Asad to all of you. Dr. Asad is a renowned immunologist with lots of publication in this field. He started his journey in immunology on 2009 at IICB under the guidance of Dr. Nahid Ali. He did his MSc from Madurai Kamraj University, and he did his postdoctoral fellowship from Birmingham, USA, and presently he is doing his research in Albert Einstein College of Medicine, Bronx, New York, USA. He has 15 publications in international journals in this field. He is a life member of American Society for Microbiology, USA, International Congress on Infectious Diseases, USA, Indian Science Congress, India. He is in editorial board of Journal of Immunology Forecast and Archives of Natural and Medicinal Chemistry. He is an ad hoc reviewer of Journal of Cell Physiology, Frontiers in Immunology and Environmental Toxicology. So, with this small introduction, I would like to request Dr. Mohammad Asad to deliver his speech, and Vidushi Madam, please, if you can share the screen with Asad, Dr. Asad.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sudipta Bhomik, for the kind introduction and all the praise. Thank you very much. Can you see my slide? Is it visible?
You go to the present now.
Sir, just a second. I am preparing the setting. Just give me 1 minute.
Okay. Okay.
Sudipta, I think Shopon Babu is here.
Okay. Dr. Asad, can you wait 1 minute? Our chief guest is now here with us.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
so please, we can take 2 to 3 minutes for his introductory talk.
Sure.
Vidushi, you join Shopon sir and Shopon Babu is not visible to me.
Yeah, left the meeting.
Oh. So what should we do?
Okay, continue with
Shopon Babu is coming.
speaker.
Shopon Babu has come.
Okay, then call him to deliver his speech.
Okay. You are. He is mute. Good morning, sir. Our honorable GV member, Dr. Shopon Kumar Das, is with us now, and he is our chief guest of this webinar. So I would like to welcome our chief guest, Dr. Shopon Kumar Das, our honorable GV member, and request him to tell a few lines about our webinar as a chief guest.
Sir, please unmute your mic first. You are not audible. Sir, please unmute your mic. You are visible but not audible.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Now
Please
what?
continue.
Now what is it? Okay.
Yeah, please
Yeah,
continue.
we can hear you, sir.
Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Respected Principal Sir, Dr. Kaustubh Lahiri, but he is not present now, and Honorable Speaker, Dr. Muhammad Asad. Dr. Muhammad Asad is from USA, that is the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of USA. You are welcome here, sir.
Thank you.
We are
Thank you
very
very much.
proud that you are connected with us. Okay. Thank you, convener, Dr. Sudipta Bhaumik of Zoology Department and Professor Vidushi Haldar of History Department of Dr. Kanailal Bhattacharya College of Howrah for inviting me as chief guest in this international webinar of immunology. Today's main topic is immune response in allergy, asthma, and associated diseases. The main speaker is Dr. Muhammad Asad of Albert Einstein College of Medicine of USA. Mainly, Dr. Asad will discuss this topic. I am going to say only few words about asthma and allergy. An allergy, that is a one immune system that reacts with a foreign substance which is called allergen. And that substance is called allergen which causes the allergy. So these may be certain food, these may be the pollen etc. which does not cause such type of bad reaction on other or most of the people, but it acts on few people. Allergy is also known as the allergic diseases, and allergies are caused by hypersensitivity of the immune system of the body. These are typically harmless substances for most of the people, but it is harmful for only few people. The underlying mechanism involves the immunoglobulin E antibodies, that is IgE, that is part of the body's immune system. It binds to an allergen. What is allergen? Allergen is a chemical which is caused by the immune system of the body. And then it binds to a receptor on mast cell or basophil, that is WBC, where it triggers the release of histamine. That histamine, which is the inflammatory chemicals, is released from the blood. Very common symptoms of the allergies are sneezing, conjunctivitis, wheezing, shortness of breath and cough, red rash, swollen lips, tongue, eyes, etc. Different medicines are there like antihistamine, oral pseudoephedrine, very different types of nasal spray or combination of methods. Next, I am going to define only the asthma. Asthma is also related with the allergy, but it is a chronic inflammatory disease of lung. The chronic inflammatory disease of lung.
স্যার মিউট হয়ে গেছেন বিদুষী। হ্যালো
Sir, আপনি mute হয়ে গেছেন, please mute yourself.
স্যার লাস্ট টু
We can't do it from our side. Yeah, now it's okay. Now it's okay, sir. Please continue.
Okay, now?
Now we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now I am going to again the asthma. Asthma is a chronic inflammatory disease of the air passage of the lungs. Believe characterized by the recurring attacks of breathlessness and wheezing like allergic diseases. In an attack, the lining of the air passage, that is within the lungs, are swelled, causing the airways narrow and reducing the flow of air in and out of the lungs. This is allergy. Allergic reaction also can cause the asthmatic cases. Different types of inhalers effectively manage the asthma. Next, Dr. Asad will elaborately discuss the topic of the immune response in allergy, asthma, and associated diseases. Thank you all. Thank you all participants. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now
Thank
next
you very
is,
much, sir. I think now we can proceed with our eminent speaker, Dr. Asha. Are you ready?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, please continue.
This is a talk in introduce Dr. Asad.
I have already given sir for you. Okay, I will tell a few words, few lines for him again. Dr. Mohammad Asad is a renowned immunologist, and presently he started his journey from Dr. Nahid Ali's lab, ICB, in 2009, and now this is his second postdoctoral work with Albert Einstein College of Medicine, and he has 15 publication in international journals in this field, immunology field, and he is a life member of American Society of Microbiology USA, International Congress on Infectious Diseases USA, Indian Science Congress India, and he is in editorial board of Journal of Immunology Forecast and Archives of Natural and Medicinal Chemistry. He is a ad hoc reviewer of Journal of Cell Physiology, Frontiers in Immunology and Environmental Toxicology. So he has a very big CV with 4 pages. I just summarize it from that 4 pages into 1 page for the shortening of time. So now he started with Leishmania, but now he is doing his more severe allergic diseases. So it will be help us for our future knowledge. So Vidushi, I think with this small introduction, we should start with our speaker.
Okay. Yes, Doctor.
Thank you,
On behalf of Dr. Kanai Bhattacharya College, I want to thank Dr. Asad. Okay, start please.
Thank you, sir. You are always welcome.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Dr.
Dr. Asad.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, whether my screen can be shared, can you check it, please? Because when I'm clicking the share screen, I don't think it is shared. I want to make it sure whether you all can see my slides.
No, it's not visible. It's not visible. I think Vidushi is working on it. Vidushi?
Okay.
Vidushi.
If you click the present now option, it is not working,
Yes.
Dr. Asad.
Yeah, I clicked it. Now it is showing my screen ready to share, but the share icon is not clear. The
I
sheer
think
economy is not glowing.
she will clear from her side, then only it will be visible.
Okay, probably.
Please try again.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
It's coming. It's coming.
Okay, so shall we start now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much, you all of you, once again for giving me the opportunity to discuss with you about my work, present work, and my field of interest. This is always immunology. So I'm very glad to discuss with especially the younger minds about my talk. So the title of my today's talk is Immune Regulation in Allergy, Asthma, and Associated Diseases. So just although Dr. Topan completed the introduction part, but just for sake of completion, I would like to give a brief introduction about asthma, that it is an airway hyperresponsiveness and difficulty in breathing, and it is very common in children, and global burden is more than 300 million. Actually, it is 350 million almost global burden of asthma. It is allergic disease as well as it may be non-allergic. Sometimes due to pressure or due to other difficulties, there could be asthma attack. It is caused due to narrowing of the windpipe, mostly because of swelling, and there is no cure. But the disease can be managed with medicines for the lifetime. Other symptom of the disease, very well and relevant to the disease, is eosinophilia. In most of the cases, almost 70 to 80% people are suffering from eosinophilia. Although eosinophilia is very common in so many diseases, especially infectious diseases as well. And the other very crucial symptom of the disease is formation of nasal polyp. So if you can see my arrow, so this is the nasal polyp. So sometime in 15% people suffering from asthma, they will also develop the nasal polyp. And we believe that nasal polyp is very crucial for disease exacerbation, and this is causing the recruitment and infiltration of various immune cells, and by the activity of mast cells, there will be release of various inflammatory marker, as said by Dr. Sopan also, that histamine and other inflammatory marker will be released, and they will cause the severity of the disease, and the condition will become bad to worse. Other crucial thing related to the disease is intolerance to NSAID. NSAID means non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. If this patient, those who are suffering from asthma, due to some reason, either for reducing the inflammation or for cardiac problem, if they are taking any NSAID, especially aspirin, the disease will be severe. And in those patients, those who are having aspirin sensitivity or showing hyper responsiveness for aspirin, they are special interest of our study. And these asthmatic patients are called as aspirin exacerbated respiratory disease patients. So we will discuss more about this. So what is aspirin exacerbated respiratory disease? So for a long time, people are suffering from asthma, and when they used to take aspirin, there was asthma attack. But people were not knowing. In late 20th century, in 1968 actually, Samster find out three crucial symptoms for aspirin sensitivity. That's why the disease is also called as a Samster's triad. So these three symptoms for those people suffering from aspirin sensitivity, the center identify these three symptoms, and these are nasal polyp formation, asthma, and aspirin exacerbated disease. When these people will take aspirin, there will be exacerbation of the disease. We'll discuss more about how it happens and what is the cause in briefly, because these things are very long, but just I'm trying to explain in very basic manner that the aspirin exacerbated respiratory disease starts with rhinitis. It may start with common cold, the cold which will never go off, and there will be sneezing, there will be rhinitis, nasal swelling, and with time it may develop into nasal polyp. Just appearance of nasal polyp in the nose. Nasal polyp is just like a small grape or a small ice droplet in the nose, and just when it will appear, the disease severity will increase because all the immune cells, all the inflammatory mediators will get recruited at the in the nasal polyp, and they will cause the disease severity. And there is no other remedy except to remove the nasal polyp. And after surgical removal of the nasal polyp, the disease will go down. The inflammatory mediators such as leukotriene also very crucial in disease exacerbation, although we are not discussing about this thing today. So these level will go down. Prostaglandins, another lipid mediator involved in the disease progression, they will go down. But with time, again, the nasal polyp will reoccur. Other symptom is asthma, and when this patient will take aspirin, they will get severe asthma attack, and there will be no other remedy except to hospitalize these patients. So the asthma people must be very careful while taking aspirin. So how severe the disease is, why we are studying about not only about asthma, as well as we are studying about the asthma sensitive patient among aspirin sensitive patients among asthma. So around 10% adults with asthma are also having ARD, and it is more prevalent in adult compared to children. And Samster Society estimate that around 1.5 million people in the US and United States are suffering from the disease. In India, the count of the disease is very low. One reason what we think could be because India, they are not diagnosing the disease, they are not paying much attention to the disease. That's why the count in India and developing countries are low. But in Europe and USA, they are saying almost 2 to 4% total population is suffering from the ARD. And because the symptoms sometimes very low or mild, people don't know, so it is generally undiagnosed until unless they will not get the aspirin. But one thing I would like to clear, it is not so the people, those who are taking aspirin, they are developing the disease. It is not so. The disease is already there, but when they are taking aspirin, there is exacerbation of the disease. The response will be heightened by taking aspirin. These people, those who are having ARD, aspirin exacerbated respiratory disease, they cannot they cannot smell, and most of the people are not knowing why they are having this problem. They are taking medicine, they are taking asthma drugs, but the disease is not going on because the well-known treatment for aspirin exacerbated respiratory disease is that they will give a small dose of aspirin, and with time the people will be desensitized for the aspirin, and then the disease will go. And their surgical removal of nasal polyp.
Hello, Asad.
Yes,
Dr. Asad,
yes.
you have to present your slide again because something has happening. So your slide is not presenting now.
Okay.
You
Can you see now?
present. Bidushi, are you there?
And on my screen, I can see Dr. Asha's screen.
Is present now is not presenting her slide now. It's,
Okay, okay. I am
Yes, to
pinging him
present.
again. Wait.
Asad, go for present now.
Okay.
Is it visible now?
Can you see my
Now
presentation?
it's okay.
Wait.
Now
Is
it's
it okay now,
okay.
participants? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Go for full screen. Yeah.
Is it
Okay.
visible?
Yeah, it's now. It's okay now.
Yeah. Please continue.
Right.
Okay. So many people have not been diagnosed from the disease. So very limited informations are available about ARD, although we have some information about asthma, but about those people having asthma and suffering from aspirin sensitivity, for them the information is very limited. But what we know that it is an acquired chronic inflammation of airways. There is rhinosinusitis, there will be asthma, and there will be recurrent nasal polyp. Nasal polyp will come after surgical removal, it will go down, and the disease condition will also be very mild, but with time again the nasal polyp will reappear. But when these people will be sensitized with aspirin, low dose of aspirin, then their disease will be under control. The interesting thing is that there is no known allergen. That's why the study immunological aspect of study is very limited for AARD, and the disease is mimicking inflammatory allergic diseases. So there could be some allergen, but that is not known. And these patients are showing high Th2 inflammatory responses. What are the Th2 inflammatory responses? We will discuss soon. But now we can say it is a type of immune response which is closely associated with the allergic diseases, and there will be dysregulation of arachidonic acid metabolism. And when these people will take NSAID, NSAID are is non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. These are actually cyclooxygenase COX inhibitor. They inhibit the metabolic pathway of one of the metabolic pathway of arachidonic acid, and that aid in the ARD. So we will just see what happens during NSAID. So this is the our cellular membrane phospholipid. So this phospholipid, because of the action of phospholipase A, gives rise arachidonic acid, which is a conditional necessary fatty acid of the body. And this arachidonic acid, with the help of cyclooxygenase 1 and cyclooxygenase 2, or you can say briefly COX enzymes, because of activity of COX enzymes, this may give rise prostaglandins, prostaglandin G2, and there is other, and ultimately it will give rise prostaglandin H2. Prostaglandin H2, because of action of prostaglandin G, prostaglandin E synthase, may give rise prostaglandin E2, and similarly the same prostaglandin H2, because of action of hematopoietic prostaglandin D synthase may give rise prostaglandin D2. Although these two, prostaglandin D and prostaglandin E2, both are product of prostaglandin H, but functionally they are highly diverse. Prostaglandin E2 inhibit the inflammatory responses, they inhibit Th2 inflammation, but prostaglandin D2, what we believe, this is the central in driving whole Th2 inflammatory responses. They promote the Th2 inflammatory responses, which causes ultimately severity of the disease. And when the asthma people, those who are suffering from asthma, when they will take aspirin, the aspirin is actually, or any NSAID, they will inhibit the cyclooxygenase enzyme. Because of this, the production of prostaglandin E2 will go down, because they are blocking the pathway. But the interesting thing is that even after blockage of COX enzymes, prostaglandin D2 is going down, but simultaneously prostaglandin D2 is going up. This dogma, this thing is not clear for almost for last 70 years. 70 years people are trying to know what alternative pathway existing for the development of prostaglandin D2 in the presence of aspirin or in the inhibited condition of COX enzymes. But nobody knows. Although we know that after the blockage of prostaglandin D2, mast cells get activated and they may produce histamine, and these things are leukotrienes. They may promote the prostaglandin D synthesis because of the prostaglandin is going up. But what is the pathway which is leading to production of prostaglandin D2 is not known. But increased level of prostaglandin D2 is highly associated with the Th2 type of responses, which is driving force for the disease progression. And the prostaglandin D2 is hampering the immune system during the disease here in asthma. So like our country, we are having the defense system. Our body is also having defense system. So this defense system protects us from the pathogen. They protect us from the viruses, cancers, and flu, and all these things. So it is just like our country's defense system. Our body's defense system is also very strong, and they are also divided into various subtypes. Like we are having Air Force, Navy, and military, everything. So they are also divided and skillfully divided into various subtypes like killer T cells, dendritic cells, neutrophils, and macrophages. Macrophages can directly engulf the parasites, and some cells like B cells, they give rise antibodies which fires on the pathogens. So our immune system is highly sophisticated. So little bit I would like to give background about immunology related to my present work. So among blood cells, there is hematopoietic stem cells which is present in the bone marrow. It gives rise myeloid progenitor cells and lymphoid progenitor cells. These lymphoid progenitor cells may give rise lymphocytes, which are T lymphocyte and B lymphocyte. T lymphocytes which matures in thymus, and B lymphocytes which matures in bone marrow. And also it gives rise natural killer cells. T lymphocytes further
Dr.
get
Asad,
yes.
please share your screen again. Someone is presenting and your screen presentation is off.
Oh my God. Okay. So I have to do once again.
One second, please.
Oh, sure.
And participant, do not click on this present screen button. It's disturbing all the
Okay.
time.
Okay. So now my screen is visible.
Yeah, it's okay now.
Okay. Then T lymphocyte may be differentiated into T helper cell and cytotoxic T cell. T helper cell, which is also called CD4 type of cell, and cytotoxic T lymphocyte, which is CD8. So we will not go into the detail, but and B cell will be differentiated into plasma cell, which will give antibodies. As Dr. Sonner said that these antibodies, especially IgE, is involved in the asthma and other allergic diseases. Then myeloid progenitor cells, they will get differentiated into RBC, red blood cells, megakaryocytes, and mast cells. Megakaryocytes may give rise to platelet formation, and these myeloid progenitor cells also gives myeloblast cells, which get differentiated into monocytes, basophils, eosinophil, and neutrophil. Monocyte further differentiated because of activity or during allergic during the infection into macrophages, and they directly engulf the parasite, as well as at the site of the inflammation. Macrophages are very necessary because they will kill the other cells, immune cells, those who have completed their work. These macrophages will engulf this parasite as well as the used cell. So further about the TH cells, that in the presence of IL-12, they may be differentiated to with one type of cells which produces interferon gamma and TNF alpha. These are the cytokines, and these responses are occurring especially during the viral attack. Hello, yes, during the viral attack or other Th1 type of inflammatory responses, and the 19 Th naught cells in the presence of IL-4. IL-4 is a cytokine which promote the differentiation of Th cells, naive Th cell, which is not exposed to the any antigen, into Th2 type of cells. And these Th2 type of cells produces various cytokine which is producing Th2 kind of response. These cytokine such as IL-4, IL-5, IL-9, IL-13. There is other cytokine also, but these are very well-known cytokine which gives Th2 kind of responses. And these responses are very crucial for allergic diseases. There is another very crucial population of Th cells, which is called as T regulatory cells, and they are very crucial in maintenance of homeostasis during the disease as well as without disease. So they are like traffic police. They control that all the cells keep doing on their work, and it should go according to the norms, and they control the environment. So basically, they are doing the immune homeostasis. And the cytokine secreted by these Treg cells are TGF-beta, IL-10, and IL-35. There is another class of T helper cell that is called Th17 cells, which is generally comes into picture when there is bacterial or fungal infections, and they are very closely working like Th1 kind of responses, and they add on the interferon gamma and TNF responses, and they gives IL-17 and IL-22. So as I said, PGD2 is very crucial during the allergic responses, especially asthma and AERD. So PGD2 is very diverse. It is produced from the dendritic cells, macrophages, epithelial cell, Th2 cells, mast cells, innate lymphoid type 2 cell. We will discuss more about this subset uh, soon. And also they are produced by epithelial cells, basophil and eosinophil. So PDG2 is widespread, expressed by almost all type of immune cells. And functionally also they are highly diverse because their presence will recruit the immune cell through various cytokine and chemokine secretion. All the immune cells such as mast cells and eosinophil and all these cells will be recruited at the site of inflammation. Then PGD2 also activate the mast cell to secrete various inflammatory mediators such as leukotrienes, prostaglandin D2 itself, and histamine and other inflammatory mediators. There is another very new concept coming up about the role of PGD2, and that is Th2 cells get differentiated into Th2A cells. A stands for allergy. So during the allergic responses, Th2 cells get differentiated into Th2 cells and give rise allergic responses. Means Th2 kind of responses specifically related to allergy. So this polarization is also done by PGD2. So it appears that PGD2 is very important during allergic responses. So this is the overall picture of allergic diseases and asthma, but this picture is not known during aspirin exacerbated respiratory diseases. Few things are known for asthma, and this is the clear picture for typical allergic diseases, but very less is known about the aspirin exhibited respiratory diseases, especially the driving force for these two kind of responses. So what happens initially when there is any allergen or there is damage in epithelial barrier, I can say, that is better. So because of virus or any other allergen, when there will be damage of epithelia, then these epithelia may secrete IL-25, IL-33 and TSLP. These three are cytokines. TSLP is thymic stromal lymphopoietin. So these cytokines are secreted from epithelium and they are having widespread receptor. They have receptor on all these type of cells: T cells, eosinophils, mast cells, innate lymphoid cells, and they activate all these cells. And when they activate mast cell and eosinophils, they produces prostaglandin D2, and this prostaglandin D2 is having their receptors. This is called CRTH2, which is receptor for PGD2, and it is present on all these cells: innate lymphoid type 2 cells, mast cells, eosinophil, and T cells. And because of this receptor, they activate all these cells, and especially ILC2 and T cells, they will give rise to Th2 responses. Further, PGD2 differentiates the T cell into Th2A cell, which is very much involved during the allergic responses, and these Th2A cells is actively involved in giving rise Th2 type of responses, Th2 cytokine, which which are like IL-4, IL-5, IL-9, IL-13, what we saw earlier. So what cytokines are, hello, but the cells involved in Th2 responses is not known and not well studied. So for a long time, people were trying to associate the Th2 response with the allergic diseases, but they were unable to find the cell subset.
Dr. Asad,
Yes,
please again share your screen. It's again
okay,
off.
okay, sure. Is it visible?
Is it okay now?
Okay. So during allergic responses, people were able to see that there is Th2 type of cytokines like IL-4, IL-5, IL-13, IL-9, but they were unable to find out the cell population which is secreting this cytokine. The producer of this cytokine, they cannot directly associate the Th2 cells. So later on, Wembray, they were able to distinguish these Th2 cells, which is responsible for allergic responses or Th2 responses during the allergic diseases. So they said that there is a tiny population of Th2 cells. Th2 cells are actually heterogeneous functionally. There are more than one functional Th2 cells, and those Th2 cells which are showing memory marker like CD45RO, they are actually responsible for Th2 kind of response. So they define it that those cells which are response in allergic disease, they are CD49D positive, CD49D, which is helpful in recruitment of Th2 cell at the site of allergy, and they said these are positive for CD161 and CRTH2, and we know CRTH2 is a receptor for PGD2. So they said those cells which are positive for CRTH2 and CD161, which is receptor for IL-7 as well as NK cells. So this population is actually involved during allergic diseases, and they are producing all Th2 kind of cytokines. And they interestingly showed that in non-allergic patient, this population is almost nothing. There is no such population in non-allergic people. So they did so many studies and they found the same result. And they published in a very reputed journal, Science Translational Medicine. So because our model was also similar to allergic diseases, and we also can see there is two type of responses. So we thought, yeah, we should study Th2A cells because there is no cellular immunology studies during the asthma associated with aspirin. So we took this in our study. Further, they define the mechanism how these Th2A cells are involved with the disease, that when these allergens are expressed by dendritic cells. Dendritic cells means antigen presenting cells. When the allergens are presented through their MSC to the effector cell, which is Th2 cells. So these allergens, because of the expression of these allergens, these Th2 cells get differentiated into Th2A cells with the help of PGD2. And these cells gives rise Th2 kind of response like IL-4, IL-5, IL-9, IL-13 and PGD2 as well. But when they use the antagonist for PGD2, which means they use the CRTH2 antagonist receptor blockage. So after that, what they observed that this population was vanished. The Th2 population was gone, and allergic response was gone, and people were non-allergic. So they said that PGD2 is very crucial, and blocking their receptor is very helpful in recovery from the disease. So after this population, there is another population from the lymphoid progenitor cells, that is lineage negative cells. Because we said that lymphoid cells are T cells, B cell and NK cell, but there is another population which is not having marker for T cell, no marker for B cell, and there is no marker for NK cell. These cells are called lineage negative cells. So they are also involved in the disease. So what are innate lymphoid cells? Although most of the people are knowing, but just for the beginner, I would like to explain them that they are also derived from common lymphoid progenitor cells. They do not express B cell, T cell, or monocyte or dendritic cell markers. They do not express antigen specific receptors like T cell is presented by antigen presenting cells. They don't identify this cell. They just get activated because of cytokines. Cytokines are chemical mediators which is secreted by various immune cells we discussed a little before, and these activate the innate lymphoid cells. So during the evolution, when the adaptive immunity was developing into T cell, B cells, at the same time innate immunity was also developing innate lymphoid cells parallel to the adaptive cells. So these are also like Th1 kind of response, Th2 kind of response, Th3 kind of response. So all this thing. And these innate lymphoid cells, although they are making very small population, the population is very small, really very tiny population, but they are very fast, very quick. They respond to allergen or infection very quickly, and they give rise various cytokine. So just as we said, like Th1, Th2 and Th17, they are also having ILC1, ILC2, ILC3. Although this classification is not very clear, still the people are defining the proper protocol and classification of this innate lymphoid cells. But this is general consensus that ILC1, because of the activity of IL-12 during viral infection, mostly they gives increased level of ILC1, and ILC2 like Th2 cells, they are also get activated because of IL-25 and IL-33, and they produces IL-5, IL-4, IL-9, IL-13, and ILC3, which is very similar to Th17 cells, and they gives rise IL-17 and IL-22, and these are their transcription factor markers like ILC1, that is TBET, which is for Th1 cell also, and GATA3, which is for ILC2, and RR gamma T, which is transcription factor for ILC3. So because of similarity, so we wanted to study the ILC2 also in our disease. And what further we saw that this ILC2, they are also having CRTH2, which is the receptor for PGD2, and when they are interacting with PGD2, they are also giving rise IL4, IL5, IL9, and IL13. So they are also very potent and crucial for our studies. So we involve this also, this cell population also in our studies. So for the beginning, I'm giving like we hypothesize something so that we can work on this hypothesis, and what hypothesis we're working, we chosen that hypothesis for our further work. So we hypothesize that Th2 cells and ILC2 cells expressing prostaglandin D receptor, which is CRTH2, drive the disease by promoting Th2 inflammatory responses in ARD. So the approach we took for the today's presentation, that is that we analyze the ILC2 and Th2 cells and their cytokines in PBMC, peripheral blood mononuclear cells. Peripheral blood mononuclear cells means lymphocytes and monocytes. So these two cells which are having mononucleus, they are called as peripheral blood mononuclear cells. So these we are isolating from the blood. And in the nasal polyp obtained from the ARD subjects and healthy individuals. So we were analyzing the innate lymphoid cell and Th2 cells and their cytokines. So our workflow was, we collected the nasal polyp from the surgery. When the surgery is going on, we are getting the nasal polyp, and we are collecting the blood also from the patients. And we are making the single cell suspension of the nasal polyp, and we were isolating the PBMCs. And we are storing into the liquid nitrogen, and when it is required, we are culturing them after reviving the cell and stimulating them with PMA inomycin. And then we were studying with cytic aurora flow cytometer. This is a flow cytometer, very little advanced flow cytometer, which can go up to 68 parameter. At a time, 68 colors we can study through this. And presently what I am doing, that is around 34 parameters I am studying, or maybe more than that we are studying. So in one tube, your whole experiment will be over. So that is the advantage with this flow cytometer. So just for the beginner, I am briefly telling my procedure that we were taking single cell suspensions of PBMC or nasal polyp with stimulated with PMA inomycin, which stimulate the cells, and it also behave like how the T cell is getting stimulated because of antigen presentations. So, and also we use the transport inhibitor, which will inhibit the cytokine which is getting produced. This inhibitor, transport inhibitor, will inhibit their secretion. So during the flow cytometry, we can measure the cytokine present inside the cell. We can study the cytokines which are inside the cell. So we should use the transport inhibitor. And then the cell were stained for surface marker. For identifying cells, we are using various markers, and cells were fixed and permeabilized so that we can do the intracellular staining for the cytokine and intracellular receptor like transcription factor. We used to permeabilize the cells, and then we did the staining for intracellular markers and cytokines, and then the data were acquired by cytic aurora and analyzed through Mojo software. So this is for ILC2 getting. So forward scatter versus side scatter, by this plot we getted the lymphocytes, and from the lymphocyte we did the doublet discrimination. Doublet discrimination, why? Because when because even we are making single cell suspension, but two cell may get stick together. So to avoid the two cells getting stick together, we are using doublet discrimination. Those cells which are sticking, their height will be same, but their width and their area will be double. So these will be on this side. So we are removing the cell which are having very high area versus height ratio. So these are single cells, and then again we did the single cell isolation by doublet discrimination on SSC, and then we did the live dead staining so that we will select only live cells, and then from live cells we did getting for lineage marker lineage cells. So these are lineage negative cells and these are lineage positive cells, means T cell, B cell, monocytes, all the cells we eliminated. We took only lineage negative cells from the lymphocyte, single cells, viable cell, lineage negative cells for our studies, and then we get it for CD127. And then we, on y-axis, this is CD161, and on x-axis, this is CRTH2. So double positive population, which will be visible here, which expected to be visible here, will be called as our innate lymphoid type 2 cells, which is double positive. And this is FMO control. FMO control is a type of control where we are adding all the fluorochrome except the fluorochrome of interest. So we are adding CD3, CD4, and all other fluorochrome except CR, TH2, and CD161. So this should be negative, and then whatever signal is coming, that will be because of positive cells. So in healthy volunteer, these three are from the PBMC, and this is nasal polyp tissue. So we took PBMC of healthy volunteer, PBMC of asthma, and PBMC of ARD patient, and nasal polyp tissue only for the patient those who are having ARD, means aspirin exudative respiratory disease of asthma patients. So what we saw in healthy individual, the ILC2 population was low, which were increased in asthma patient and ARD, and it was much higher in the nasal polyp tissues. So yes, this ILC2 population is increasing during the asthma, and especially it is much higher. It was very much high during the nasal in the all the nasal polyp samples. Then we also studied the cytokine produced by these innate lymphoid cells, and we saw that these cells were producing more IL-5 in asthma, ARD patient, as well as nasal polyp tissues. So further, we also saw the IL-9 producing ILC2, and their population was also tremendously increased in ARD, asthma, and more pronouncedly increased in the nasal polyp tissues. So then briefly we studied the Th2 cells also, and what we saw, very interestingly, we saw that Th2 cells are those who are expressing hematopoietic prostaglandin D synthase, which is the synthesizing enzyme responsible for PGD2 synthesis, and CRTH2 positive cells are high. So this preliminary data encourages us to involve Th2 cells also in our studies, and as we have seen that PGD2 is having its receptor on Th2 cells also. So we use the similar gating strategies as Wembre has prescribed, that we took the CD4 cells, and from the CD45 positive cell, which is memory cell marker, we get it for CD45 negative cell, which is CD45 RB is knife cell marker. So we eliminated knife cells and we took only memory cells. So these were CD45 negative, and then we selected the CD49D positive cells as the Th2 cells, and then we get it for CD161 on y-axis, CRTH2 on the x-axis, and this population, this double positive population will be our Th2 cells. And we were also surprised to see in all the patient sample, all the healthy individual, almost all healthy individuals, that there was either no or negligible population of Th2 cells. Although we use very high gating, so we were expecting very low population, but in healthy individual, in most of the healthy individual, there was no Th2 population. But during asthma, there was some population positive for Th2 cells, which was further increased in ARD patient, and it was high in nasal polyp tissues. So Th2A was high in nasal polyp tissues. Similarly, we saw the IL-5 means Th2 cytokine producing Th2A cells, and we saw that compared to healthy, asthma, ARD, and nasal polyp tissues were having high Th2A population producing IL-5. And similarly, there was a higher proportion of IL-9 producing Th2A cells in asthma and ARD PBMC as well as nasal polyp tissue of the ARD patients. So after this, there is another population of T cells which is called invariant NKT cells. So these NKT cells, among these NKT cells, there are some NK cells which are showing receptor for NK cell as well as T cell. So they are called as NKT cell, and those who are having very little variation of T cell receptor, they are called invariant NKT cells. So they are very diverse. So they are said to be involved in allergic diseases. So we wanted to see what role they are playing during our allergic disease, which is asthma and ARD. So just for completion of the story, that invariant nitronuclear cell, which is said to be associated with the allergic diseases, actually this is a subset of T cell, which is also expressing NK cell marker as well. And they are very tiny population. Their population ranges from undetectable to around 1% of total T cells, and they recognizes lipids and glycolipids presented by CD1D of antigen presenting cells. We know that T cells, they recognizes peptides through APCs MSC, but in place of peptide, iNKT cell recognizes CD1D of APC, and the antigen which is expressed by these are peptide, lipid and glycolipid, not peptide. So that is a unique feature of this population. And their T cell receptors are having very limit or invariant, that's why they are called invariant NK cell. So their T cell receptor is made of V alpha 24, G alpha 18, which is paired with VB11 in human. And their role in ARD is completely unknown. So we wanted to study their involvement in cure or progression of the disease, and we got some information that they may be involved in cure of the disease, in resolution of inflammation in asthma. So what is resolution? Because in asthma there will be some inflammatory responses, and our body is having self resolving capacity. They will resolve this inflammation. So what is the resolution of inflammation? That is restoration of tissue homeostasis, as well as it clears the inflammatory leukocytes from the lung, or you can say at the site of the disease, at the site of inflammation. They dampen the hyperreactive airway responses, as well as they restore the epithelial barrier function so that our immune system will be come under homeostatic conditions. They help the clearance of cell debris, clearance of parasite, whatever at the site of inflammation. So that is called resolution of inflammation. So among various mediators, lapoxin A4, which is also produced a product of arachidonic acid metabolism by some other pathway, lapoxygenase. They help in production of lapoxin, but I'm not going into detail of that pathway. But Just that lapoxin A4 is a lipid mediator, and they are very important for resolution of inflammation. So they are produced by very diverse kind of cells like epithelia, eosinophils, and platelets, and they function via FPR2 receptor. That is a receptor present on T cells, but very few information is available about these receptors, and they counteract the innate lymphoid type 2 cells. Uh, their inflammatory responses, and they help in uptake of apoptotic neutrophils and cellular debris. They activate the macrophages actually. Then the activated macrophage reaches at the site of inflammation, and they eats up, they apoptosize the cellular debris and the parasites. So this lapoxin A4 is very crucial, or one of the most known in resolution or mediator for the resolution of inflammation. So the study is very faintly known, very less known about this, and because the INK T cell is highly diverse in their function, because of different mediator, I'm not going to the detail that because of the activity of various cytokines, they may give rise to different kind of responses. So some iNKT cell may act as protective, some iNKT cell may act as disease progressing population. So they are highly diverse. So our preliminary data state that they are having receptor for APR2. So we thought, yeah, it may be involved in the disease and playing a role in resolution of inflammation. So what we found that it is present in healthy individual also, but their population was more in ARD blood samples. So they are present in our disease model, and they were expressing FPR2, which is a receptor for lipoxin A4, and this population was increased, especially in those asthma patients which are allergic to aspirin, means ARD patient, and in nasal polyp tissue, the FPR2 expressing iNK T cell expression was high. So we predict that they may be involved in the resolution of inflammation. So in conclusion, we can say that this is the picture of nasal polyp. We believe that nasal polyp is the main site of the disease activity, inflammation. At the nasal polyp, the cell recruitment takes place, and what we say that Th2 cells are recruited at the in the nasal polyp through blood. It gets recruited, and similarly ILC2 is also coming into the nasal polyp, and they are giving rise Th2 responses, and these Th2 responses exacerbate the disease. But iNKT cell in our disease model, especially in ARD, asthma population, those who are having ARD, that iNKT cell produces the responses which inhibit Th2 response. They make the resolution of inflammation by promoting the lapoxin recruitment and clearance of the cellular debris. So that's all. Then I would like to acknowledge my PI, Dr. Elena Gerson and Stephen Porcelli, my lab mates, Tony, Alejandro, and Isha. And we have few collaborators in Singapore and other places like Ponkia, Joe, and Nadeem Akbar, Walid, and also my Einstein Core facility like Jing Hang and Odeng, and my grant. Thank you. Please.
Thank you, Dr. Azad.
Question. Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, lots of questions are there. First question is from Debushmita Ghoshal. And how successful is aspirin in treating COVID-19? Is there any hope for aspirin in I don't know it is your area of research or not, but she asks that.
Yeah, actually, we are working on COVID-19 patient also, but actually there is some similarity between COVID-19 patient and asthma people, because they both are having the hyper immune responses, but the role of aspirin is not being studied, and that is not known, because of taking aspirin there could be hyperimmune response, so that may exacerbate the disease. So we are not trying anything like that, but we are trying to do some vaccine study and anosmia, the loss of smell we are studying, and the immune responses like IL-6 is increased during the COVID-19 patient, so we are trying to use some biologics to inhibit the IL-6 response to see how it is curing. So these studies we are doing, but for aspirin we are not trying, because that may cause severity of the disease also.
So next, another question is from Gorima Hor, that aspirin is a blood thinner. So in case of cardiac patient, what will be the fate if
That's the problem. Aspirin is a very good blood thinner, but when these patients are taking, those who are suffering from the asthma and they are having cardiac problem, so there may be asthma attack and the person may die also. Because of this, so many people come to know that they are allergic to aspirin. So in that case, what they have to do, either they have to switch to other blood thinner, or if they want to continue with aspirin, so they have to be desynthesized for the aspirin. So what they will do, they will firstly give very small dose. The dose is around 160 mg. Okay. Then slowly they will optimize the dose by which the patient can take, and by that way they will maintain their blood quality. So that's the approach people are taking here.
so another question is from Devushmita, that obesity is sometimes linked with the asthma. So is there
Yes,
any
correct.
fact that obese people are more prone to asthma or like
That
that?
is true. That is true. That is why just I gave a hint that asthma is actually, people are believing asthma is not a disease. It is sign of the disease. So asthma could be allergic and asthma could be non-allergic as well. So obesity is also causing asthma. Asthma means simply difficulty in breathing. So when you will be obese, your blood circulation will be hampered and your trachea will have problem in breathing, so these will be associated with the disease. So for that I will not recommend to take any medicine, but you have to do good exercise. So asthma is also associated with obesity, with hypertension and other things also, but these are not allergic, so you may not need to take medicine for asthma, but you have to take care of your health, your obesity. But of course, obese people are having high chance of getting asthma, but they may not be allergic. That asthma will be different than allergy.
Next question is from Aniruddha Maiti, that the PG receptor that is also similar allergic response in case of polyp of throat.
Yes, the CRTH2 is very commonly studied for various allergic responses. Yeah, so that is similar.
Next question is from Siporna Kutre, that long-term use of fexofenadine and montelukast is it safe to if anyone have some um, allergic tendency? Montelukast we always take whenever we go to get cold allergy, we will take a montelukast. So is it safe for long-term use?
Yeah, means actually there is no problem, but when you will take NSAID, so there may be problem, but it is not so by taking medicine you are causing some problem. It is not so, but always there is side effect for various drugs that is different story. But it is not so. If you will take aspirin, you will get asthma. It is not so. So in that prospect, it is safe.
Next question is from Shontu Paria. That what about the pollen? That is a common agent for allergic response. All of you know. So if you can first, uh, if you
Yes.
say some
So
words about pollen allergy.
yeah, pollen allergy actually in our India, the allergic diseases are very low because we are already immune to so many diseases that our immune system is well developed. You can say they are having good training of martial art. So our body defense system is very strong. But in other places like Europe and USA, the allergic diseases are very high because the infectious diseases are going down and then the allergic diseases are coming high. So pollen, the allergy to pollen is very common here. Allergic rhinitis also one example, and there also they have used the PGD2 blocker, the PGD2 receptor blocker, that CRTS2 blocker to inhibit the disease, and they are doing very successfully. Yes, and there also you will find the TH2 response, which has to be controlled to control the disease.
So next is from my colleague Anushwa Chatterjee that her daughter is allergic to paracetamol, a very common drug. So in case of any disease, she will have to avoid the paracetamol. So
Okay.
can you throw any light about this?
Yes, people are allergic to so many reasons, and especially when your IgE level will be high, so it means your basal IgA level may be high, and people are allergic. So if you are allergic to something, you have to avoid that disease in spite of just taking some other thing to decrease your allergy. It's better to avoid the thing which is causing allergy. So allergy could be for anything. Doctor is saying I am allergic to prawn, so I'm not taking, but it's not so I will take some other medicine to decrease my immune response. So you have to cope with that allergic response and avoid that
And
medicine.
many questions are coming, but I think this is the last question as the COVID-19 situation, pandemic situation is everywhere. So if you conclude with the risks of asthma patient with the COVID-19 disease.
Yeah, as I said in the beginning, that COVID-19 and asthma are having some similarity. Like they both are giving inflammatory responses, and COVID-19 patients are also losing their sense of smell. But the mechanism of losing sense of smell may be different because during the COVID-19, there is ACE2 receptor in the nose, which is responsible for sense of smell. They're getting hampered, and COVID-19 parasite is using the virus particle is using that ACE2 receptor for getting entry into the body. So if we can control that ACE2, then the disease could be controlled. But as you know, that COVID-19 is caused by SARS-CoV-2, which is a virus. So we know virus is having very high genetic manipulation tendency. So controlling a virus is very challenging. We are trying to make some vaccines, but I don't know how much vaccine will be fruitful. It could be harmful because when we are taking vaccine like for HIV, there is heightened immune response. So getting a vaccine for virus is very challenging, but for other diseases it is much easier. So I don't know when we will be come over with this challenge, but we have to keep in mind that whatever drug, whatever thing we will prepare, vaccine we will prepare for the COVID, it may be working for shorter time, but again next time we have to be ready. We have to be prepared for other challenge. It is like flu. Every year we are taking flu medicine, we are getting the flu, but again we are getting the flu. Why? Because every time the new strains are coming, which is having different tendency to cause the disease, and we are suffering from that disease. So that only I can say. And in New York, the good thing is that in New York, the disease is very low. So initially in New York City, the disease was very high, but now probably because of herd immunity, most of the people got immunized. They have produced antibodies. At least for this season, they appear to be safe. And we expect that there will be not much COVID cases in New York City. But in other places of the USA, the disease is increasing. So maybe when the more the people will get the disease, then there will be no host for the COVID-19 parasite SARS-CoV-2, and they will be over. But till then, we have to take all precautions. We have to take care of the disease so that there will be not burden on the hospitals, and the disease keep progressing slowly. We can prevent the spread of the disease very fast. By that way, we can control the disease. But it will take time to control the disease. Probably like New York, it will be the herd immunity which will help in controlling the disease.
So I think we should conclude our seminar here. And now it is a time of vote of thanks. I would like to thank some persons who are continuously help this department to arrange this webinar. So thank you, Dr. Asha.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now
You're always welcome. It was very nice to have a talk and chat with all of you. And I'm always there to talk and to discuss even for career opportunity or any other thing.
So now I will conclude the session with a formal vote of thanks session. So firstly,
Sudipta, just a second. Before you start, I just want to add a few lines. That today's topic of the webinar was awesomely relevant, and thank you. As I am a patient of acute allergy, I think it will help me a lot in future. So for my part, another thank you, Dr. Asha. It was really nice of you. You presented very nicely today's webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Sudipta, please continue.
Yeah. So from the convener side, we are jointly organized this, myself and Professor Vidushi Haldar Sardar. He is a faculty from our history department. Actually, her continuous support and effort, that is this total platform and the flyer and form and everything she made. Without her support and love, I am really thankful to her, but it's not, she used to say, don't thanks me, but it's really my heart feeling thanks to her that without her support, I couldn't conduct this session. So from this is
don't say like that, it's our duty.
No, thanks Vidushi for your continuous support. Being a faculty of other stream, you genuinely helped me out a lot. So this is a thankful from our entire department, from our other colleagues also. So, and now next I would like to thank our principal sir, though he is not present here, Dr. Kaustubh Lahiri. His support is always with us. For his support, with his support, we can organize this type of webinar. And our chief guest, our honorable GB member, Dr. Swapan Kumar Das, he is always with us, and his continuous support is with us. And so I would like to thank him also. And our IPSC coordinator is not here, Dr. Montu Vishwas. He is also our chief advisor. So, sir,